All right. Week 17 lecture. Wow. Hard to believe in some ways how quickly time passes. And honestly, how hard to believe when I look back at all the topics we've covered, right? So that was my first slide here. I was like, reflection, right? When I look through the list of topics we've at least introduced you to, right? I'm pretty happy about that. I hope this class has given you a better understanding of what it means to be a developer, and hopefully excites you enough to want to continue the path that we're on. So, sorry I didn't say at the beginning, but this will be your week 17 lecture. I've decided that instead of doing another lynda.com, which at this point, you have had enough exposure to Lynda that you definitely would encourage you to go out and search more classes that you have interest in to continue learning, because don't depend on school to teach you everything you're going to know. I think in this program, in the web developer program, we really are attempting to bring current topics to you. And at the same time, I know for me, the way that I've learned the best is when I'm engaged and when I'm passionate and when I'm self-driven. So if you kind of skip through some of the stuff with Lynda and didn't really have time to focus based on whatever it was going on in your life, I feel like you missed an opportunity. But the cool thing is because lynda.com is still free and will be, as far as I know. I did have a sit down meeting in one of the women tech makers a couple weeks ago with the Fresno County Library, and I asked them point blank, will the Fresno County Library be continuing to offer up the lynda.com registration? And they said, yeah, as long as people are taking advantage of it. So I would say not only should you continue, but tell your friends, right? Tell anyone that'll listen to you that lynda.com is free if you have a Fresno County Library card. And so that's why I'm really excited to have now completed my first course using it. And I will most likely use it again when I teach this course not next semester, I teach this course once a year. Okay. But in general, so that's, kind of the lynda.com view, and definitely continue on in that. And then just in general, when I reflect upon also, because I've been teaching this, I think this is my seventh time of teaching this particular course, and every time it's offered once a year. Every time between the time I've taught it and the next time I teach it, so much has changed that it's really phenomenal. And I really do, when I looked back, because I actually have the ability to look back to some of the topics that I've chosen. This semester, I didn't choose any topic that was not referenced in the 2 years prior. So this tells me how much this field of web technology is changing. And web development is just undergoing mammoth changes. Some of the stuff we did not talk about that I encourage you, and actually that's going to be, let's see, was it my next slide? Right, next steps. Yeah. So what are your next steps? And what I know is that because I know some of you. In real world, like I've talked to you, I know that some of you have taken this course out of the sequence that we had identified for the web developer program. And I really am trying to figure out from our perspective how we can make that better. And the way I think we do it is that we offer more consistently the classes within this major, which we are getting much better at, but it takes a little while for cohorts of students to get in there. So some of you may have already taken some of the classes that are in the major next, but if you haven't, next semester for sure, I definitely recommend taking the 85. So what I did is I went ahead and pulled up the schedule and I looked for it so that you would know. So it's right here. So it is offered in face-to-face mode on Tuesday, Thursday from 4 Really, it's because it's a lab as well. There's more in here. I think it's 4 to 550 possibly, or 540, because that's just the one part of it. Sometimes it's hard to understand the way we schedule things, isn't it? It's just a little confusing. Yeah, so if I, oh, 550. There we go. Okay, so that's definitely one I would tell you to check out. The other one is, and I suspect everyone has already been looking at their classes already, but if you haven't been for whatever reason, also Brian Baker is offering server-side scripting using Ruby on Rails. And then James Makovsky is offering Python. So any of those courses would be a great next step for you to take, because we've at least given you a fundamental introduction into the HTML. In this class, though, we really utilized and leveraged some of the frameworks that are out there, the Bootstrap, um, the jQueries of the world, and those are good. You will see when, if you go, which I hope you do, which by the way, I am going to be setting in on the class, the CIT85. This is a class that I have taught for many years, but it never hurts to remain hands-on as much as possible. And for me, this is really important because I don't develop on a daily basis. Anything I do that keeps my hands in it is really effective. And the other thing is I'm excited about that is that Todd McLeod's teaching it. And if any of you know Todd, what you really have seen over the last year to year and a half is Todd has done an amazing job coming up to speed and bringing his knowledge base and his teaching base current, which I'm going to give you an offer here in a minute to take one of his courses online, not through City College, but one that I really think is very helpful to have. So what are your next steps? It really depends on you. Depends on what you want to do. It depends on how you felt about your experience here. I hope you walk away with a positiveness, but I also know that, we challenge some of you to really maybe do some stuff you've never done. I know the whole command line thing really threw a lot of people, and I know the whole FTP thing was another jump to do, right? But these are having these skill bases will help you do the next logical step, the next indicated thing, assuming that what you want to do is either augment your major or this is your major, because we get both kinds of students in here. Right. The other thing I will tell you, and this I think I have in one of my slides, and maybe it's a little farther back, I'll come back to that. Yeah, is Bitwise. So I know some of you know who Bitwise is. So why am I talking about Bitwise? So Bitwise is a technology hub company here in Fresno, and I've really seen them grow up. I've know the principals, the people who have founded it. I've seen some of the work that they're doing. I really believe that some of the work they've done has inspired at least me to do an even better, more current job in my own class. Because what their goal is they want to give you that skill that helps you get a job. And honestly, that's our goal as well. We also, in the academic perspective, want to give you a wider range, a wider view of what's happening. So it's like, if we can combine those two things, if we can give you that wide view of here's the discipline, here's the industry, here's, what you want to understand theory wise, and then at the same time give you that hands-on experience. I think we've done you a service by doing that. And if you want to just get the skills that will get you to the workplace, Bitwise is another place to do that. They offer, and you can look at their website. And I went specifically over here to Geekwise because and I looked at Bitwise Industries. I looked at, sorry, this is their new building, Bitwise South Stadium. I was actually at the grand opening a couple weeks ago. It was really amazing, really exciting to see what's happening downtown. Their goal is to be the mothership of technology and collaboration and innovation in Fresno. It's a huge goal. Definitely support that. So then Geekwise is their teaching arm, right? So you can come in here and look at some of the courses that they have. They have cohorts. They have courses that you can look at. The React.js, which is the Facebook framework, many people are starting to look at. JavaScript 2, Bootcamp. I think this is probably the beginning one. And so you can see here, right? So you can see the classes that they offer, right? So I think it's good for you to know. I think it's good for you to know what your options are when it comes to this field and where you might want to go next. Okay, so let me go back here. So I talked about next steps. I just mentioned this briefly. So here's the other thing is that Todd has a Udemy course, and the course that he teaches is on the Go programming language, which he has spent and invested, and has a huge amount of investment from the campus given to him, as well as to myself, but specifically for him to gain knowledge in Go. And Go is Google's server. Well, it's actually a client too, but it is Google's language. That they have developed and created for creating really fast, responsive websites. And actually, it's really just data-driven, fast websites. That's what he's teaching right now, using it in many different ways. So it's not necessarily the simplest, but here's what I want to say to you. He, in the course that he put together, and let me just go find it. I should have had it up, but I didn't. Todd McLeod going. See if I can find it. There we go. I think that's it. I think that's the one. If not, I think it'll give me a list of, and you can search here it is right here, right? So I'm going to give you a link to taking this course. Normally it's $249, so I'm going to give you a link that you can take this course free in the in Canvas so that you can link and look at that if you want. So why do I recommend this? Just because the more you learn, the better. And he really does an amazing job of introducing you to programming concepts that will benefit you in this path. So even if you think, well, I don't want to learn Go right now, it's not necessarily, I mean, it is about learning Go, but it's also about what I think Todd does better than anybody that I've seen is he really gives you a foundation. It's like in order for him to teach you this, he really has to teach you something fundamental that is the foundation of that thing. And he really does a great job at that. So I'm going to give you a link to that, but you can look through here and see. Talks about the terminal. He really is talking about how you install it, and then he starts getting into the environment itself, and then the fundamentals for computers, computer concepts here, the binary system, numeric systems, hexadecimal systems, text encoding. These are things that no matter what you do next, if you continue to want to work in some type of web area, will help you. Doesn't matter. In some kind of computer related job, no matter what, these concepts, having at least an idea about them will be very helpful for you. Okay, so I give you a link to that. So that's Todd's course, Bitwise. I talked about user groups. Okay, so here's the other thing, is that how do you learn? You know, one of the ways you learn that I think is really powerful is that you have people that are in the industry and they are people that you hang out with. You either are friends with them or there is some situation that you can hang out with them and ask them questions and talk about what they're doing, because that is a really powerful way to learn. It's a way I learn. So how do you do that? Through user groups. So Fresno, partly thanks to Bitwise as well here, has some amazing, I'm going to go to Meetup here. I'm going to search within Fresno, and you can start looking through here and you can look at some of the meetups that are here. So here's our Fresno Tech Makers, Fresno Women Tech Makers, okay? Ruby, Fresno Hack Night, which is awesome. Drupal, which is a content management system. And there's obviously some here that are not necessarily, well, they're not tech at all. So, but you like the other one is a WordPress meetup. That's awesome. I know there's also a new one started up that's a coding, a free coding class as well. So, you know, go to Meetup, sign up. So I'm involved in two user groups directly, Women Tech Makers Fresno and GTG Google Developer Groups Fresno. So those are two that I'm involved with directly that I think is really good. And I think any of them are really good because, again, the way often you learn is to be around people that live and breathe this stuff and having conversations and understanding what they do and just having a relationship with them is helpful because then it builds your network. It builds your network of people to help you. Because, always people often ask me, Rio, how did you get into the job that you're in? And I always say this, and it's very, very true. It's not only who I know, but it really helped who I knew because it helped my networking. It helped the number of people I knew. It helped the number of people that knew me and knew the kind of work that I did. But here's ultimately what I say to that question. It's not just who I know, it's what I did with who I knew. It's the way I handled myself. It's the way I approached it. It's the way I had passionate about it. And so knowing people almost in most jobs got me into the door, but I had to hit a home run when it came to the interviews. Okay, I couldn't getting my foot in the door was helpful, but if I didn't do a good job in my interviews, it wouldn't have mattered who got me into the room. Okay, so building your network of people is really, really, really important. Not only for your professional, but for your social connections as well. I suspect most of us kind of know this, but it's good to be reminded about this. And again, Meetup is a great website for this. It's really, when I hear people say there's nothing to do in Fresno, I always go, have you been to meetup.com lately? Have you looked at some of the stuff going on in Fresno? There's really more stuff than you can really imagine. I think part of the reason people think that is because in larger cities, there's just so much, even more of it, it's hard to ignore. But it's okay. It's okay. People can bash Fresno if they want to. I'm not here to defend. I'm really just telling you that's not my experience here. It's actually been just the opposite in a lot of ways. Okay, so let's see, where am I at? User groups. Okay, so here's the other thing. I've kind of given you I'm teaching the preview. I think I've said it maybe once or twice, but this time next year, in addition to CIT82, which you are taking, I will be teaching JavaScript in the classroom. And so I've been sitting this semester in on Todd's 90 part of. I actually had to because I had so many people come to see me, which is a good thing, but I didn't get to complete all of it. But I've sat through all of Brian Baker's JavaScript that he's teaching now, and next year I'll be teaching that. So I kind of want to tell you my plan, and here's what I want to say. If you haven't been this whole time, you need to be taking notes, right? So this is your job while I'm doing this last lecture to take notes. I don't know if I said that in the beginning, so now's the time that you want to do that. So I've been thinking, not now, the whole time. But I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about how I want to teach programming because I have never actually gotten the opportunity to just teach a programming class. I've taught programming as an aspect of a course, but not by itself. And I've said this to Todd and I've said this to Brian as well. I'm going to do it differently. I am going to do my goal right now. My plan right now is to teach this class in that JavaScript in this following way. Is that I'm going to do what's called a flipped classroom environment. Students will watch lectures on JavaScript outside of the class, and then they will come into the class to code. That the time in class, 95% of the time in class will be coding, because I think it's time on task that really helps you feel confident with these concepts, and it's really a skill. It's like our muscle memory, right? The more we do something, the better we will get it. So that's my intent for that when I teach JavaScript, is to use possibly lynda.com, possibly something else, because I think there are some better. I've been looking at lynda.com's JavaScript, and hopefully between now and then they're going to create some new courses that really do a better job. There is some fundamentals JavaScript, but it's a little old, and we're getting ready to, with JavaScript, move to a new version. So it's time we start teaching some new concepts. So what do you think of that idea? right? So I want you to put that in your notes. And some of you are taking JavaScript right now, so obviously you wouldn't need to, but some of you may need it. So you hopefully will see me again. But I also will be in the creating websites next semester. Okay, so now. So I've kind of given you, so here's what I want in your notes. If you haven't already done it, do a heading for each of those slides that I went over, giving me some of the bullet points that I've covered. And now I want to talk about Project Zero. So I actually feel like I've really covered this topic really, really well. And over the last 4, really 5 weeks, we've been talking about it. So I think you have everything you need to do it. You just need to do it. You just got, and some of you already are. Some of you are making great progress on it, right? So I want to talk about when it's due. I want to talk about, again, just looking at the requirements to make sure we're clear. Okay, but I also want to make sure you're all also clear about how important this is in your overall grade, and something in Canvas that you may have already discovered that I want to make sure you understand. So first, I'm going to switch over to Canvas, and I am looking at this as a student. So if you didn't know this, each item in the grade book, okay, now this is nobody's grade. This is just a student account that I had not been updating, and I went through today and updated it. But I want you to know you can actually manually put any score in there for what's called the what if score. So what's great about this is that, and I believe I've said this, but if you haven't completed something, you can complete it late. It is discounted 25%. So you can ask the question, what if I make up some work that I missed? Now what's kind of fun for me about Canvas is that I actually make my CIT15 students do a spreadsheet that does this same thing. But Canvas, and what's cool for me is when I saw that Canvas built it in, it was like, God, I was on the right thinking, because this is a very common thing that we need to give students the ability to do. Make some decisions based on the work that they've done, the work that's required to get to the place that they want to be. Okay? So, but today I had to go through in this example and fill in all of them. But I got to the end, right? So I got to the end and I had filled in everything. And in this happened scenario, the student had 81.19%, right? So, and remember, the project zero is worth 25% of your grade. So you might ask the question, well, what happens if I don't do it at all? Well, that clearly is not a good thing, right? And then you might ask the question, what happens if I totally nail it? So that's where you end up, because this averages overall in everything that you've done so far. So you have to ask yourself, based on the requirements, where do you want to end up, right? So that's why I'm showing you this, is that Canvas gives you that ability to do some what-if scenarios that normally I have students do in Excel, and that you just need to understand what the impact of Project Zero is on your grade. Okay? So by the way, once you do that, at the very top it'll tell you this is not your actual grade, and if you want to revert, you can. Okay? So, just FYI. So I'm actually going to leave the student view for a second. I'm going to go over here into our course, because I'm actually converting all my CIT15 into, oh, this is not what I wanted to show you guys, sorry. So what I wanted to show you was really to talk about, for the last time, the project requirements, okay, which I'll need to bring up to the top, and I haven't yet. Oh, this will be the lecture for 17. Where's 18? There it is. So we've gone over most of the stuff. Actually, we've gone over everything. I've cut the pages down, right? I haven't made this a requirement to have 2 columns. I've shown reasons why. Each label has to have a unique title, so that title is up in the head. So how will I know that? Is that when I go to each page, I'll look up, like, here's the title. Like right now, here's the title for Web Advisor. Here's the title for Geekwise. Shows up here, but in your code, and I'm guessing you all have this by now, is in the title tag, right? So make sure you do that. But you need an image, at least one image, and your content on each page. 200 words on the index page. Where is that at? And then 150 on each of your menu pages. Okay. Nothing new there. Upload to, like I said, the hosted server pages or wherever you want to place it as long as it works. I'm not going to really care that much. And then I want you to also, so when you submit this, what you'll do is give me a link to your server space and your site drawing. Because remember, I went over last week to make sure that in your drawing space, or on your drawing, it represents the logical flow of pages on your project 0. Okay? So that's there. And then also the last thing is you provide the grade you feel you've received based on your adherence to the requirements here, right? So if you do all those things, obviously I'm going to go in and grade it. So when can you submit it? Whenever it's ready. Now, when is it due? Is the other question. And this is a hard deadline, okay? So, and I believe it should be right here, December 16th. So what date is December 16th? I believe that is a Wednesday. So let's go look, right? So here we are. Let me go to the month. So the 16th here is a Wednesday. So it'll be due that night at midnight. Again, if you have it done earlier, get it, get it to me so I can grade it and you'll know. But on the morning of Thursday, again, you are taking notes here, just to remind you, on the morning of Thursday, the 17th, I will remove access to work so you can no longer work. You can review your grade and ask me any questions, right? But at that point, you need to have done everything that you plan on doing for this class before midnight, or really before I get up on the 17th. I'll grade everything that's remaining, and then I will let you at least, I think I can do this with Canvas. I'll just have to remember. I know how to do it with Blackboard, but is to still let you look at your grade but not go in and do any more work. Okay, so keep that in mind. So it is the 16th at midnight is when that project is done. Project 0. Okay, so before we get into course feedback, last night on chat, I did make an offer that I want to put here as well. Is that if any, so let me say this, next Tuesday night, if you go to Meetup, you would actually see this for women tech makers. Fresno. If I go in there and look at here, we have an event set up for a screening of Code Girl, which is a wonderful film, next Tuesday night. So hopefully, if you haven't seen this video before then, well, then this is SOL. But if you have, we're doing the reception at 5:30. It's in the entrance of the OAB, and the movie starts at 6. So what I've said is if you want to get involved and help me run it, I'm open to taking a percentage of your project 0 and applying that. But all we need to do is have a discussion about how much work you have to do. But if you wanted to come and help me set up and help me run the thing, be there the whole time, right? I'd be open to a discussion what you feel that's worth of the 25% that's in that category. Okay, it won't be the whole thing, I'll just tell you that, and it won't be half. It'll somewhere be between 0 and half. It would be based on how you were able to participate. And I know this is a little late in coming, so that is a factor as well, because next week is the week before finals and many people are just slammed. Okay, so the last thing on my schedule here is that I want you to give me some feedback on this course, right? In general, feedback looks like this. It's that, what did you learn the most from? What did you learn the least from? What would you like me to change? What would you want me to not change? And, anything you feel like it would be beneficial for me to hear. And really anything there's no, I have no hard feelings. So if you really have some very critical feedback, please give it to me. I really do respect and listen to the points of view of students about this stuff, because you are my customer, and the product that I've delivered to you is my product. It is a product that I have a lot of passion about, but at the same time, it's a product that I know constantly needs to change in order to best suit what you need. So any feedback in that area in general is really, really helpful. Okay, so let's just talk about from here to the end. So here we are at Friday. We have next week, which is the week before finals. So I am available obviously any time that our schedules will meet. But hopefully you know, and let's just go look. 'Cause I think that's been a little bit of a question about this. But let me go back here and go to syllabus. And I believe in here, yeah, is a link to my calendar, right? So here are my office hours each day. And then I have Friday as my virtual office hour, which lately I've been here, so it hasn't been virtual at all, it's been real. But any of those times you can come see me. But if you can't come during those times and you want to come see me, then just reach out, right? Either through chat or to me directly. And by the way, chat's been awesome. That would be the other thing about feedback. If you have any feedback about how you feel chat's been helpful, because I definitely want to continue offering chat. This is the first semester I've done it, and I really feel it's been beneficial. Some real amazing help, specifically from Nina and Yvonne and Giselda and from Sarah. Actually, I've seen almost everybody on chat, which has been awesome. So I think it's been really great. You let me know. But anyway, so reach out to me and let me know when you're going to be around. So then the week after, which is finals week, my schedule will vary a little more. But again, if you let me know when you're available, if it works for my schedule, we'll work it out so that we make sure you get what you need. All right, I think that was it. I think that's all the stuff that I needed to go over. It is. So I would like to just say thank you very much for your time and your attention. Do your notes here, put it in your Google Doc, give me the link as normal, and work on your Project Zero. Reach out for help. Consider some of the advice and suggestions I've given you here. And if I don't see you, have an amazing winter break. And hopefully I'll see you next semester. Peace out.